And now from McAllen City Hall, a meeting of the McAllen City Commission.
Welcome to tonight's City Commission meeting. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Commissioner Tony Aguirre. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads. Lord, we thank you for another great day. We acknowledge that every day that we spend here on earth is a day that we spend preparing for the day you come to call for us, Lord. I'd like to take a little time and tell you a little thing that I went through or that I was able to see and hear was a talk from a priest that is in the Bronx this last 2-3 weeks, and that I caught something that he said, and I think it's extremely appropriate. He says that wisdom is when kindness and patience meet. And at times in this day and time is that everyone wants instant gratification, instant decisions. At times we do, in order to have wisdom for the future, we need time and kindness. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And I guess we'll take the liberty to go to item 7.
7E, Mayor?
7E.
Yes, sir, Mayor. As you now know, I received a letter from our current fire chief last week, and he tells me it's time for him to move on. I think he was to be the fire chief in New York City. No, that's a joke. I'm kidding. He's been with us for 30 years. This coming March, and he has decided that it's time for retirement for him and his family. So this is the only meeting we're going to have, Chief, before your departure of February the 3rd. And so we wanted to thank you and congratulate you and give you a small token of our appreciation. Obviously, we're going to have a luncheon or something like that next week. But we want to wish you well. We want to thank you for all of your dedication and all of the years that you have provided this great city, starting with a cadet and ending your career as fire chief. So thank you, Jim, for all that you've done. I've had a great opportunity to be able to work with you. And so I look forward to seeing you as a civilian, and I wish you and your family the very, very best. Mayor, I recommend that we accept the letter of resignation from Chief Schultz effective February the 3rd of 2023.
Well, certainly, and Chief, I just want to say that the city of McAllen is a great city, and a lot of it has to do with who we have, who we employ, and of course the leadership from the commission to the directors to who we hire. And you know what? It is very difficult to lose somebody of your caliber, somebody who's a leader. So, I mean, once Chief Valderas retired, you took the position, you filled the shoes, and you filled them well. As a matter of fact, we are very proud of what you have done with our city. And unfortunately, you have to go for whatever reason. Do we want you to go? The answer is no. But you know what? I also know that you need to spend more time with the family, and family time is invaluable. So, Chief, I want to wish you the best in your retirement. Enjoy the family, because we only have one. And we want to thank you for your 30 years of service with the city of McAllen. God bless you. And Chief, a little token, but really the retirement's what? It's going to be better. But you know what? I'll hold it for you, Chief.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You want to invite your family up here, Chief, please?
Come on, girls. Come on. This is my wife, Connie, my oldest daughter, Musette, and my youngest daughter, Michaela, joining me up here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commission. I do have a little bit of a statement. Please, everybody, please sit down, please. I promise it's only 15 pages. No. I would like to thank the mayor, the city commission, the city manager, city management for all the support that you have shown me over the years, not just as fire chief, but even before that. You have always been the biggest supporters of the McAllen Fire Department, the best department anywhere. My journey with the city of McAllen began 30 years ago when I was hired as part of Cadet Class 20, a group of 13 young men wide-eyed and eager to serve. From that cadet class, there have been 3 fire chiefs, 1 assistant chief, 2 deputy chiefs, and 2 lieutenants. So that was a pretty good class 30 years ago. Over the years, as I promoted through the ranks, I've seen a great many changes in the fire service, the equipment, the tactics, and the growth. But the focus and mission has never changed, and that is to protect life and property. The McAllen Fire Department motto is always on hand, and the department will continue to serve the public even long after I'm gone. It was serving the public 70 years before I got there. I'm sure it can do it without me after I'm gone. I am just blessed, honored, and humbled to have been a part of the McAllen Fire Department and the family of the city of McAllen for the past 3 decades. I will greatly miss my work family here at City Hall, all the department heads that I interact with on a very regular basis, and of course, my family at the McAllen Fire Department. I am moving on so that I can focus entirely on my family at home. I could not have gone as long or as high in my career without their unconditional love and support, and for that, I wish to thank them from the bottom of my heart. Mr. Mayor, I humbly submit my intention to retire as of Friday, February 3rd. Thank you. Yes, sir. Girls, where you going?
This is harder to move because it's connected.
So, Mayor,
Well, I guess we'll have a
along,
motion to accept resignations. Is there anything else we need to take up?
yes, sir, I also, well, I'll wait for that motion.
Motion to approve?
Well, I recommend that the motion include acceptance, regretfully, acceptance of the notice of resignation and retirement of Chief Schultz, and also
Any
to authorize the
recommendations?
city manager to appoint an interim fire chief.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Against? Motion carries. Enjoy, Chief.
Enjoy, Chief.
Next, we have public hearings.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Tonight, we have 9 items listed under routine. There's 2 rezonings and 7 conditional use permits. As always, they come with favorable recommendations for Planning and Zoning Commission and can be approved in one motion or discussed separately as desired. They are a rezone from R3A to R2 at 3300 La Lomita, a rezone from R3A to R2 at 3420 La Lomita, a conditional use permit for life of the use for auto repair service at 304 North 3rd Street, a conditional use permit for life of the use for a guest house at 2601 Austin Avenue, a conditional use permit for life of the use for a cosmetology academy at 3420 North 10th Suite 200, a conditional use permit for 1 year for an event center, not BYOB, at 3420 North 10th Suites 240, 245, and 250. Conditional use permit for a food truck park at 4900 Tres Lagos Boulevard. A conditional use permit for life of the use for a firefighter training facility at 10,700 North La Lomita. And a conditional use permit for life of the use for a fire station at 14,300 North Sherry.
Do we have anybody to speak against any of these items?
Motion to approve items 1 to 9.
Do I hear a second?
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Item B.
Sir, this is a rezoning from R2 to R3A at 520 Jackson Avenue. This property is located on the north side of Jackson Avenue, approximately 160 feet west of South 5th Lane. It does measure 3.75 acres. Adjacent zoning is R1 to the south and east, R3T to the north, and R3A to the west. Development trend for this area of Jackson Avenue is single-family homes and apartments. The applicant is requesting R3A for a detached duplex development. The item was presented at the January 4th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. There was 2 neighbors in opposition, citing noise, traffic, and neighborhood character. But after some discussion, P&Z unanimously recommended approval. We are recommending approval.
Do we have anybody against this item? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
The next item is a rezoning from R1 to C3. It is currently tabled. We are recommending it be taken off the table.
Motion to take out of the table.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Off table.
Alrighty, this property is located on the south side of J Avenue, about 300 feet west of North 10th. It measures 0.97 acres. The adjacent zoning is R1 to the west, R3A and C3 to the north, C3 to the south and east. Uses include apartments, businesses, a bank, and single-family homes. The applicant is requesting C3 for part of a greater commercial subdivision titled QQ 10th and J. Development trend along J is mostly single-family with commercial on 10th. The item was initially presented at the December 6th P&Z. There were 2 neighbors in opposition, citing noise, traffic, and quality of life, as well as property values. The item was tabled so the engineer could speak to the residents, and then the item was reheard at the January 4th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. There was no opposition at that meeting, and it was recommended for approval. We are recommending approval, and I believe there is 1 person in opposition here today.
Do we have anybody to speak against the item?
Forgive the mask, but my wife's sick. I don't want to bring germs home. I've lived there. My name's Steve Widnick. I live at 1105 J Avenue, which is the second house down from the property. I've lived there for 35 years. I'm 71 years old. Our side of the street is all residential. The buyer of that land has a huge piece of property on 10th and J that they can do commercial development. That 1 lot, which is at the west end of the property, is residential. It's highly valuable to somebody that wants to build a home for themselves and their family in keeping with our side of J there. If you allow that to be rezoned, then the commercial use of that property will infringe and be very close to the homes on our side of J, which is the south side. There's a lot of kids. There'll be more traffic. There's no way that they can exit onto 10th from that point. They'll have to exit on J, which runs east and west. When they bought that property, they knew that that last piece was residential, and about a year or two ago, the board denied rezoning it to commercial. But they went ahead and made the purchase knowing that situation, but now they're again wanting to do that. And where would it stop? It keeps infringing and degrading the residential nature of the block. And I just ask that you put yourself in our place. Would you like that where you live? McAllen's a beautiful city, and it's a nice place to raise a family. But if it becomes industrialized, it loses that quality. You would also lose the value of the residential lots, like where I live and so forth. Long-term would lose value because people wouldn't want to live that close to a commercial development. And basically, I'm just appealing to the board to please consider not rezoning that one little part that's residential. It's on the west end. From what I understand, the company that owns that property said if it is rezoned, they would build an 8-foot cinder block wall running north and south, and just in front of that wall, a 15-foot green zone. If you do rezone it to commercial, I hope that the city would follow up and ensure that at least they make good on what their promise is, because if not, it's going to really be a bad turn for the block there. So I would hope that it would stay residential, but if not, at least make sure that they live up to what they had promised. Thank you.
Sir, any questions, comments? Anybody else against the item? Or
He's against.
against the item? Okay. Do you all have any questions? And I think.
Do we know the well? I guess he's for it, right? So he's
Yeah,
going to
go
tell
ahead.
us what the yeah. Let's hear it from.
Yeah, same question Omar was about to ask.
Yeah. What's he
If
going to
you
do?
could address the last request.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. Ruben De Jesus with Mountain Hunt for the record. Just to kind of clarify, and one thing that we could make assured, we're working on this property and we'll be going through the subdivision process. So that masonry wall would be a requirement with the city, and they were going to comply with that. And also any code that they have to follow with the 15-foot buffer and all the visible line of sights, we'll be working with staff on all that. So that's something that we would be working with, and it would be applied to the project. Right now, I know the project is, I believe they're working on doing some type of commercial development. I don't know if they've disclosed any information to staff, but I believe that the front part might be like a car wash. And so right now, it's still in the preliminary stages due to the site limit. With this rezoning, then they'll be able to better adjust the site and adhere to any code that they need to. So.
Certainly, I'm sure that should the commission go ahead and do a commercial, all the requirements will have to be met later on. But I'm very familiar with the area, and I know that across the street to the north, it has about the same property, which would include this. Then on the south, you have the title company, which is about the same as if you do the commercial.
Correct. So we're, in reality, one of the main reasons for the rezoning is we're following the same corridor of what's existing. So they're just trying to make the site a little bit better and also ease of access for the area.
Yeah, and the proposed property almost aligns with the property in the south, which is the Sun Palace subdivision. So just make change to just cut it off and get it done.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? There a motion to approve?
So move.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor? Against?
Against.
Motion carries. Okay, then we have, where we at?
Conditional use permit for 1 year for a home occupation, specifically a gunsmith shop. This property is located along the south side of North 25th, it's just south of Sprague. It is zoned R1 with R1 in all directions, and single-family homes in all directions as well. The applicant is proposing to operate a gunsmith shop on appointment only, Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Staff did receive one call and a letter in opposition to the request. The item was heard at the December 20th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where the HOA president for Falcons Crossing was present and was in opposition, citing traffic and commercial signage. After some discussion, P&Z unanimously recommended disapproval, so a supermajority will be needed for approval.
Okay. Is there anybody against the issue?
And Mayor, while he's coming up, I want to correct the record. I meant to recommend disapproval. So for the record, I'd like to say that.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Harsha Puttagunta. I live in the same neighborhood on 10513 North 24th Street on Falcons Crossing. I am happy to be the president for the Homeowners Association. It's purely a voluntary job. According to our Homeowners Association bylaws and restrictions, the neighborhood is supposed to be only for residential purpose. We doesn't allow the Homeowners Association declarations or bylaws doesn't allow any businesses at all, and we object for this request. And that is not the place to have a gunsmith shop or any shop, and we object for any businesses in the neighborhood.
Anderson, that's Falcons, Quail, Eagle Crossing, all those areas, correct?
That is correct.
All
We
residential.
have 4 subdivisions over there, and one of them is a Falcons facing 23rd Street.
Right.
On Brazos, and we object to have any businesses in that neighborhood. That is only meant for single-family business houses, and that is not the place to have a gunsmith shop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody for? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm David Raymond. The gunsmith shop would be mine. I live at 10604 North 25th Street. I realize that it's, not zoned for this kind of thing, and that the homeowners association has rules about not having businesses, but a lot of people in that neighborhood have businesses. I mean, YouTube channels are businesses. There's people that teach in the neighborhood, do online learning stuff. There's tutors. There's a person who boards dogs. There's a lot of that going on in the neighborhood. The only difference is that I'm actually trying to get approval for things.
Any questions, comments?
You said that your operations would be from what time to what time? Day to day?
It's just normal business hours.
So it's
Yeah.
during the day?
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing anything at night, and noise from machines would be essentially like an idling car, and a quiet one at that, when you're talking about them actually being in the garage with the doors closed, and all of that stuff would be essentially while people are at work.
What are the wishes of the commission?
The motion from P&Z is to
Disapprove.
approve, and it would take a supermajority from this.
Correct. And staff's recommendation is to disapprove, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can take into account any other businesses that you mentioned people might have in their households, right? It's only the application that you have before us. Based on what I'm seeing, and I think looking at understanding the neighborhood and the pictures, I would make a motion to deny the request.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. We have item C. D. No,
Item
D.
D, Mayor.
Oh, item D, I need a motion to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of McAllen.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item E.
Mayor, this next item is a landmark designation. It will be presented by the city's Historic Preservation Officer, Liliana Garza.
Good afternoon. This request is for a destination of a McAllen City landmark at 1206 North Main Street. The house in question was built in 1913. The first two owners were significant to the agriculture development of McAllen, and the house remained in the same family till 2013. Historic information can be found within the packet. Current owners remodeled and restored the home. You can see before and after photos on packet. Staff, the Historic Preservation Council, and Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval of the request.
Any questions?
This is the same one when we reviewed in a workshop?
I don't think so.
This is a different one. This is one on Main Street.
Yeah, this is
New
the one
one.
on Main Street.
But it's a different property.
Oh, it's a different property.
I would make a motion to approve.
Very nice.
Second.
I just have a question. We have a historic preservation committee, right? Or is that
Yes.
different than what this, did they review and approve?
Yes, they
Yeah,
recommended approval.
November 30th.
Great. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And then we have consent agenda, items A through O. Do we need to pull anything?
H?
H? Okay. Anything else?
No, on item 201, I guess you would say I've got a conflict. That's it.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve items A through O minus H? And of course, Mr. Haddad, not voting on O.
Not here.
This one, yeah. Okay.
Item 5B, Commissioner.
Can I have a motion to that
Okay.
effect?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item 3A. Oh, no, we have,
Two H's in order.
actually, hold on a second. I think we had pulled out H.
Yeah, we pulled out H.
Okay, item H.
Wanted to hear more about this item and in particular what we were doing there. If we,
Yeah, so this is an ordinance providing for a budget amendment for land acquisition. This item was on the agenda last meeting. We discussed the acquisition of this property and was approved by the city commission. And so this is near our current parks facilities. And we're recommending that we use both funds from Park Zone Number 2 in the amount of $547,000 and from the Infrastructure Improvement Fund, which we had designated money for parkland in the amount of $617,000.
Denny, can you tell us again where the property is located at and what the purpose, I mean, just what are you going to be doing?
So the property is located west of McAllen Sports Park, north side, so south
Okay.
of the Boys and Girls Club.
Danny, Counselor, is this something that maybe it's more proper for executive if we have not acquired the property?
We have it under
Under
contract.
contract? Oh,
Okay.
we're good.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So again, yes, sir. Property is west of McAllen Sports Park, south of Boys and Girls Club. There is a storage unit facility west of that off of Ware Road.
Okay.
And so this will be for additional parking capacity for the complex.
Got it. Okay.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Against? Motion carries. Item 3.
3A is award of contract for the purchase and installation of IT equipment at the McAllen Parks Admin and Metro Transfer Station.
Mayor and Commission, staff is requesting to purchase network cabling, hardware, and cameras for the Metro and Parks facility. This does include the installation. Staff recommends award of the contract to Inside Public Sector in the total amount not to exceed $137,000, $137,000 with $80.35. And we open it up for any questions.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. B,
B is consideration approval of change order number 4 for 23rd Street intersection improvements.
This item is for change order number 4, is for a previously unidentified water line conflict discovered during the project. The change order will be covered by MPU. We currently cover the cost, and then we ask for reimbursement from MPU on this project. Staff recommends approval of change order number 4 and to increase the amount to $56,561.48, and we open it up for any questions.
any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item C.
C is consideration approval of change order number 6 for the Metro Transfer Station and change order number 5 for Parks and Recreation.
Mayor and Commission, change order number 5 and 6 are for parks in the Metro project respectively, and are related to work that was planned once the Duda Grass facility vacated the property. They're currently on the western side of the site. The change order consists of site drainage and site electrical. Parks and Metro, change order 5 and 6 respectively, are in the amount of $29,729.05 and $62,894.03. Both projects have sufficient funds to cover the change orders, and we open it up for any questions.
Questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
D is consideration approval to negotiate scope of services and fee schedule for top-ranked firms for general surveying.
Staff received 15 responses for surveying services. Staff scored and ranked each firm and recommended the selection of the top 8 firms to negotiate scope and fee. Upon reaching a negotiated scope and fee, staff will present the item to City Commission for approval. Ranking and evaluation criteria have been provided in your packet, and we open it up for questions.
Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item E.
E is change order number 2 for the 2018 Bond Group C1 and C3 drainage improvements.
This change order consists of a water line and sewer conflict and the addition of sidewalk to the project in the approximate amount of $40,000 and $35,000 respectively. There are sufficient funds to cover the change order, and staff recommends approval of the change order number 2 in the amount of $74,828.49 with 28 calendar days for the project. We've included where the additional sidewalk will be added, just for you all to, so you can see that in the packet.
Any questions? Not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item F.
F is consideration approval of pre-construction services for the Quinta Mazatlan Center for Urban Ecology.
Mayor and Commission, we previously came forward with step 1. We're coming before you for step 2. We received one proposal during step 2 for the construction manager at risk for the Quinta Mazatlan Center for Urban Ecology. Staff recommends moving forward with the pre-construction services with Spa Glass, who is our sole respondent in step 2, for a contract amount not to exceed $20,000. We've included the proposals in the back so you can see what the pre-construction services are and what, if we get a guaranteed maximum price, what the percentages that they would be charging if we move forward beyond that.
Okay. Do you have any
And
questions?
we open it up for any questions.
If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. G.
G is change order number 1 for the purchase and installation of an all-inclusive playground at Los Encinos.
Mayor and Commissioners, consideration and approval for change order number 1 to Exerplay for the additional concrete curbing, poured-in-place surfacing, and an increase in freight. The Parks and Recreation Department recommends approval for change order number 1 to Exerplay for the increase of $4,017 reflected in the final invoice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item H.
H is award of contract for the purchase of one Trammell screen.
Mayor, City Commission, Public Works is seeking authorization for the purchase of a trommel screen for Public Works composting facility through a purchase contract with Power Screen Texas from LaGrange, Texas, for a total amount of $325,000. The formal bids were solicited in November. 4 vendors responded, 2 were considered non-responsive. This equipment will assist with the production and sale of various type compost and mulch products. The amount is under budget by $50,000. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you.
All
Thank
in
you.
fa- All in favor?
Can we ask
Yes.
to see how compost facility is doing?
After the fire?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's doing quite well. We had an inventory of 80,000 cubic yards and approximately 32,000 burned. And it was all contained. The staff is still monitoring and is monitoring 24/7. We are safe. Fire department graciously helped us extinguish the fire, so we're safe. Doing well.
Great.
Well
Thank
done,
you.
because it was quite an unexpected result for the area, and but you know it has to be contained, and that mulch and compost just keeps coming back up. I know it can come back up.
Yes, sir.
So I know that you all have been on 24 hours
Yes.
surveillance there, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item I.
I is award of master contract for the aviation business consultant services.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The Department of Aviation is recommending approval of a master contract agreement for aviation business consulting services with DCOM Aviation Consulting. The base term for this agreement would be 5 years. Individual projects that are being recommended by staff will go through the City Manager and City Commission approval process. Staff is requesting authorization to award this professional services contract to DCOM Aviation Consulting.
Any questions? Not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item J.
J is consideration approval of change order number 1 for the purchase of 80 new golf carts at Champion Lakes Golf Course.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners. Champion Lakes Golf Course seeks consideration and possible approval of change order number 1 to the contract with Yamaha Golf Cart Company for the purchase of 80 new golf carts. The total amount of the change order is $69,081.50. Due to the recent price increases experienced across the golf cart manufacturing industry, Yamaha Golf Cart Company is requesting this change order, and Champion Lakes is in dire need of replacing the car fleet, and therefore we recommend approval of this change order.
Any questions?
No, just, what's taking Yamaha so long to get them?
From the very beginning, on the original bid, they told us it was going to take a year and 9 months. So it's pretty
chain,
much
maybe.
So
what
was
they
the
had.
bid subject to price increases, I guess? I mean, they gave us an amount, but then once they arrive, it could be at a higher price, I guess.
When they deliver, or
Yeah.
no,
Well,
this would be the final price. They're scheduled to deliver within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
well, originally,
this-
I guess originally when we got the bid, it was a year and a half ago.
17 months ago.
They gave us a certain price, but I guess that price was subject to price increases, right?
Okay, my understanding from purchasing is that given the situation that the entire country is in and all the rising costs to manufacture golf carts, as long as there is no gain or profit gain to the manufacturer, that is justifiable. Yes, sir.
And I mean, we don't have to accept it, and the alternative is to rebid, so
Wait 2 years.
we're kind of,
Probably
bad
higher.
situation. Yeah.
Probably higher later.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item 4A, that's a regular capital project.
Yes, sir. No new money. This is just rolling it over from last year to this year.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item B.
B is something new. It's providing for a budget amendment for the City Hall expansion. Mayor, what we're doing here is the City Commission has approved funding for the study of the expansion of City Hall. It has also approved funding for the design of the expansion of City Hall. And so, as you know, when we went through the budget process last year, there was a tremendous amount of money that we kept in fund balances all throughout the city, especially in the general fund. And in fact, some commissioners highlighted that we had several $1 million over the norm. And so I want to give you a little bit of history. Back in 1819, fiscal year 1819, 2018 to 2019, not year 18.
You confused us there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We had $50.7 million in fund balance. That represents 168 days. The next year, we had $56 million, which represents 179. Last fiscal year, we had 54.3, which represents 161 calendar days. And this year, the current budget, we have $78.5 million, which represents 223 days of working capital. So what we're recommending here, and we can have further discussion if you would like, is that we move out the money from the fund balance of the general fund for the possible construction of City Hall. We're estimating about $21 million. We know we got a lot of work before we establish that number, but we have the cash. And so one of the decisions that you have to make is, if we're going to move forward with City Hall, and so far it looks like we are, how are we going to pay for it? And so traditionally, for an expansion of this magnitude, for a project like this, we would borrow money. Except that in this case, it is the opinion of the city manager's office that we have the cash in hand. And so this is not going to be a revenue-producing project. And so we recommend that we set aside the money, which is approximately $21 million, so that when we get to the point that we are ready for construction, we have it on hand. If we decide for some reason not to do the project, we can use it for something else. I just want to be clear that that money is spoken for, but if there's need for further discussion, or you want to go borrow money, then we can do something different.
I think personally, Roy, what we have money saved up, okay? With inflation, the value of that money goes down every day. So the sooner we spend some of it, and I think this is a great thing to do for our community, where we can expand the services, provide better for them by expanding our city hall without having to touch the tax rate again. I think it's a great idea. We can do it. And it's not, we're still going to be within the guidelines as far as working capital, correct?
Yes, sir. Trying to find that number. We would be in about 163-day range of working capital, and our policy is 140.
140.
That's after the transfer. I'll entertain any other questions.
Well, I think my initial comment is that it's $21 million. It's a lot of money for us to decide in one meeting, in one agenda item. I know we've talked about the expansion of City Hall. We've talked about approving the design, the feasibility part, but this is the first time we talk about the financing of it and the setting the money aside for it, which I don't know that we're ready for. But and the reason I say that is because this amount of money, there's a lot of opportunity for us to do other things, and I just don't know that we're ready for one meeting to be able to discuss the allocation of $21 million. I mean, like you mentioned, I think bringing our working capital down from 223 to 163 is, well, it's possible. It still brings us over the 140 mark, but it's really the opportunity cost. I mean, what other projects could we not be doing for the expansion of this City Hall? And again, I go back to it's, we're taking it up in one meeting, whereas typically when we spend this amount of money, we've had workshops, we've talked about it, and we're all in agreement where $20 million is something that we're ready to spend.
And again, we can certainly bring it back to workshop. We're not proposing that this money be spent. This is just setting it aside. So we have a clear picture of what we really have, because 223 days of working capital is a lot of money. And so we can start eroding that very, very quickly. It's real easy to keep bringing in budget amendments when you have so much money. That was the reason for me bringing this forward, but we can certainly bring it back to
I understand.
workshop.
I understand the logic that you're bringing forward because you're correct. That is a lot. And I think that this expansion is, before construction gets started in so many ways, it's at least 4 to 5 years away. So, but I think that we should be putting some monies aside, so I would be in favor of putting half of it into that, half of that request, right around the $10 million mark.
But I guess the issue is we're not spending it. We're
I know,
allocating
but
that way we have it.
But if we start putting some monies in so that there won't be an expense, 4 to 5 years from now.
My concern is putting half of it and then we start piling up again on the fund balance instead of utilizing it. I mean, we're not conferring a benefit on the community. We're just, here we go again. Whereas if we go ahead and do what we got to do, which is, and that is, if everybody agrees that we need the expansion of the city hall.
Well, if we don't, it comes back.
Oh, correct.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I'm saying you put 10, and then maybe next year another 5, another 5.
But I think
it's going to be sooner than 3 or 4
a lot
years.
sooner.
I hope it is.
Commissioner,
I
think a project like this could likely break ground within 24 months.
That's
right?
our horizon, in fact. It's
That's
about
what I would
24
expect.
months.
And so, for me, I think removing and kind of setting it aside into this reserve account so that city management can kind of operate and budget, almost around it as if it wasn't there, right? That way we have a much more conservative view of our fund balance, the amendments that come in, and how we look at some of the future projects. And if we end up financing it, it just ends up getting either maybe covering a portion of it. I think at that time we look at the most strategic option, right? Combination of debt to cash, depending on what the market is like. But I wouldn't have a problem allocating it. Realistically, we're still holding on to it, whether it's
Yeah, we're
labeled
just
under
moving it on
construction
paper.
fund.
We're moving it on paper. and
That's the
so
way I see it.
It's
So.
still your money.
I think it's conservative, and it lets the public know where we're allocating it, and we work our general fund around anything we need for the general fund without taking it into consideration. So I think it's actually being transparent and conservative.
This is usually something that we talk about during budget time when we talk about big items like this. But the question I've got is the amount of the capital projects that we've talked about in the summer. Are all of them funded in terms of money allocated towards them? Which would include the tennis center and all of the projects that we've discussed moving forward with. Do we have money set aside from?
Yes, sir. For the tennis center, for real estate, for future parks, the capital every project, other than the discussion that we had today on aquatics, they are all funded. Drainage, as you know, we have a master plan to get there with both bond money and with utility fee. And so, honestly, it just makes me nervous having so much money in the fund balance.
Yeah, I agree that. I agree with that,
without identifying what you're going to do with it, so that we, especially me, don't recommend something crazy.
I don't think we've ever been led astray or as far as bad recommendations. I think hopefully the commission would agree that it's something that would help us budget later on, and at least we know there it is. Should we decide at the very end not to, we don't do it.
Where do we come up with the 21 million?
We figured that it was 5 floors when we brought it to workshop. We got we estimated 45,000 square feet. And then we did a small programming takeoff to develop that number. Right now, we're doing the feasibility study. We think it'll be ready mid-March, where they'll come back with a cost and the programming to see if our initial takeoff is correct for the size and the cost. We think we did pretty conservative on the 21 million. We think their number will come in about there as well.
And hopefully we're wrong and it's a lot less.
I hope so.
I agree.
A lot of money. I just want to make sure that we've allocated our funding properly so that all of the projects that we've intended to do, we have money set aside for them, and that we've looked at every other service that we need to provide before we look to expand City Hall. But we're ready to do it. We're ready to do it.
What are the wishes of the
We
commission?
provide a lot of services here.
And I don't think
as well.
the commission's hands are tied to move it back at any point, right? And if we needed
move it
to transfer
into
back in the
any-
general fund, it's really a
Any
paper
fund.
transfer, right? We're not spending it.
Right.
I would make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Item 5, variances.
5A is a consideration of a variance request to not require the subdivision process at 6117 North Ware Road.
Yes, sir. This property is located on the west side of North Ware, approximately 620 feet south of Lark. It is zoned R1 and C3L. The adjacent zoning is R1 to the north and east, AO to the south and west. Surrounding uses include a church, residences, and vacant land. The owner purchased the property, which is described by Meets and Bounds, in May of 2018. The property currently has a restaurant known as Hacienda Las Mariposas, and the applicant is requesting a variance to construct an event center and chapel. The basis for the request is the subdivision cost, which does not constitute an undue hardship per ordinance. The property had received a building permit back in July of 2018 for a home. However, a stop work order was issued due to it changing use to a restaurant. The property was then rezoned from R1 to C3L to allow for that commercial use, and a building permit was issued on the condition of any future development would require a subdivision. The development team reviewed the request, and we are recommending this approval. There are 4 options before you. Staff, again, is recommending option 3, since that was the agreement back from 2018, and financial considerations do not constitute an undue hardship. However, if approval is considered, then we do urge option 2. And I believe the applicant is here, sir.
Questions, comments?
I read it through it. I would make a recommendation for option 2 to approve the variance, subject to the various requirements.
Excuse me, I need to abstain from 5A and 5B.
Okay, 5A, there's been a motion. Do I hear a second?
Hold on.
Have we approved any other variances like this in the vicinity? Is it going to create an issue for us in the future?
We have not approved variances. Our biggest concern is getting that right away for 41st Street, which is on the west side. The elementary school is already dedicated. They've already given their share for the street. There's another subdivision that we've already met with developers just north of this property. They are planning on giving us the right of way for 41st as well on the west side. So that's the main concern. Obviously, whenever you have a commercial property, you kind of want to push it towards subdivision. It's not a single-family home where it's actually bigger issues to go through an engineer and all that. So that's up to you.
Sebi, you said number 2, option 2?
Option 2.
Second.
Means an existing commercial facility, and they're adding to the services of it.
You already have a motion in the second,
There
Mayor.
being a first and a second. Okay, there being a first and second, what are the wishes of the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Item B.
Item B is a consideration of a variance request to the right-of-way dedication requirements for 5517 North Benson. Dove Meadows is a 45-lot single-family home development on the northwest corner of Dove and Benson. The project engineer, on behalf of the owner, is requesting a variance to the right-of-way dedication on Dove. Dove is a high-speed arterial which requires 75 feet dedication from center line for a total of 150. The engineer is proposing to not dedicate right-of-way and instead maintain the existing 70 feet of total right-of-way. The basis for the request is that the existing cross-section of Dove is full, and Dove does end a quarter-mile west of this property. The development team reviewed the request, and they are instead requesting 10 feet dedication instead of the 75 that would be required. The variance was presented at the January 4th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and P&Z recommended disapproval of the variance as requested in favor of recommending approval of what staff is requesting, which is 10 feet of dedication.
Questions, comments?
So for the total of 80 feet?
Correct.
A motion to accept option number 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item C.
Item C is a consideration of variance request to the escrow requirements for the paving, curb and gutter, and sidewalk improvements for 68017, a 7-mile line. S-Tech Tres Lagos is a one-lot development at the southwest corner of Mile 7 in Glasscock. Adjacent zoning is R1 to the west and north, ETJ to the east and south. Adjacent uses include single-family homes, commercial industrial uses, as well as vacant land. The project engineer on behalf of the developer is requesting a variance to the escrow requirements specifically for paving, curb and gutter, and sidewalk improvements for Glasscock, Mile 7, and Colorado. The developer is willing to provide escrow for the drainage improvements along all those 3 roadways, but again, they're requesting the variance to the other escrows as they believe the development will create minimal traffic. There are 4 options before you. Staff is recommending option 1, which is disapproval, but if approval is considered, then we would go with option 2, which is a contractual agreement.
Questions, comments?
Mayor, just to be clear, I am recommending that they escrow the drainage as they have accepted to do, and then that the rest we do a contractual agreement, and that's just based on how far it is and the fact that we probably won't be getting there for a decade or 2, and that's a big burden if this never happens. That way, we do a contractual agreement. When we get there, they'll be obligated to do what's necessary.
And that was what option?
Option 2.
Approve the variance request with a contractual agreement. I would make a motion to approve option 2.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Just one question on the, for the record, Ruben Jesus, Mountain Hunt Project Engineer, Mayor, Commissioners. On the contractual agreement, I know that we talked with staff over this. Is there a limit to that as far as it a 10-year, 20-year, or how can we work that, or is that something we're allowed to do with staff?
It is something that we're allowed to do. The PUB usually goes with 10 years with a 10-year extension. Okay. So I would recommend we do the same thing.
I know that the South Texas, so it's the South Texas Electric Co-op is the people developing the site, and they're going through the subdivision process, and they're open to that idea, and they'd greatly favor that if we could go into a contractual agreement. They are willing to pay for drainage on the escrows for this site. So if we could limit it to 10 years.
If that was a motion, Roy, I think it's a good motion to do that.
That was your motion?
Yes.
That's it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. And we have, and for the record, Commissioner Aguirre recused themselves from items A and B. Manager's report.
A is review the quarterly investment report ending September 30th.
Mayor, City Commission, the September 30th, 2022 quarterly investment report was prepared in accordance with the Public Funds Investment Act, as well as the City's Investment Act. The Investment Committee approved the report on January 12, 2023. The total book value of the city's portfolio was $473 million, with an average yield to maturity of 176 basis points for the quarter, and an average yield to maturity of 85 basis points for the year. If there are no questions, staff recommends approval.
Any questions?
What are you getting right now on the overnight? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know it's gone up since.
Yeah, it should be fairly significant, right?
Yes.
Should be a good.
And we do overnight with text pool, and so
We reviewed that in the committee report, and was much higher than 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we were about 20 to 40 basis points. It's definitely more than one.
I think it's like a little under 3. I think it is 2.4, 2.8.
Right.
Need a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? The motion carries. Item B.
Mayor and Commissioners, we are recommending an appointment to the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. The term has expired for your current person of Forrest Reynolds, and so we've got to make either a reappointment to Mr. Reynolds or another. Just FYI, 2 members of the RMA will be replaced, so there's going to be some change there, and maybe you would want some continuity with.
Well,
Mr.
actually,
Reynolds.
I would. I think, I've also talked to some of the individuals, and I think he has been an asset for the organization, and I would recommend that he be reappointed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've gotten extremely positive feedback. I would make a motion to appoint Forrest Reynolds.
All in favor? Against? The motion carries. Immigration respite report.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, the immigrant drop-off numbers at Onsal Duas Park remain very low at this time. 2 weeks ago, we had a total of 25 dropped off at Onsal Duas. We had a 12% COVID positivity rate, but if you'll note, out of 25 people, it doesn't take very many to get to a high positivity rate. Last week, we had 62 dropped off at a 4.8% positivity rate. I'll just mention with those numbers over the last 6 weeks, we've had about a 6.3% positivity rate, which is below what we've had for the last 2 years. That average is about 7.4. So numbers are about in line with what we have been seeing. Our current occupancy at Onsal Duas Park is under 100, with under 100 total individuals quarantining throughout the area. And the last thing I'll mention, the current capacity, if you remember, last month we had ramped up the numbers in terms of capacity at Onsal Duas Park in anticipation of an end of Title 42. So we increased our capacity to 3,100. That number has now dropped back down to 1,800, and we may shrink that a little bit more here in the future as the numbers remain low, with the ability, just to make sure it's clear, to ramp that back up to the 4,000 range if needed in a very short period of time. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Future agenda items.
I think this might be an executive session item, but I think it's worth bringing the property, mobile home park behind the convention center, north of the convention center, to executive session to discuss actions.
Certainly. Anything else?
Just the drainage ditches update for beautification, that was mine.
Okay.
I'm the one that asked for that.
Okay, animal welfare update, February, okay.
Trailer park.
If nothing else, we'll recess into executive session.
We were taking care of our elderly. Chamber of Commerce opened
Okay, we're ready to rock and roll.
Well, you have several items in the executive.
Okay. We already did E. Are we back?
Yes, Mayor, you.
Okay, we're back from, excuse me, we're back from executive session. Council, we have executive session items A.
Yes, Mayor, with respect to item 7A1, I recommend the City Commission consider a motion authorizing city manager and city attorney to offer the economic development incentives described in executive session.
So moved.
Next item. Oh,
We have a,
yes. All in favor? Do I have a motion to, okay, hold on a second. Okay, let's see. Do I hear a motion to?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Next item.
Mayor, with respect to item 7B, I recommend the City Commission take no action.
Okay, next item.
With respect to item 7C, I guess I recommend the City Commission consider a motion. Oh, hold on a second. I'm reading this one wrong. I recommend the City Commission consider a motion accepting the 30-day notice of termination of its contract with the City of McAllen by Medcare EMS. I also recommend that the motion include that pursuant to Local Government Code 252, that the city manager and city attorney are authorized to immediately procure EMS services necessary to preserve or protect the public health and safety.
Okay. Do I hear a motion? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Next item.
With respect to item 7D, I recommend the City Commission.
What's that?
That's city attorney.
City
evaluation.
attorney, oh, okay.
You can
well,
make that motion,
I don't
Ken.
think you should be recommending. Anyway, evaluation of the city attorney, the city commission met and discussed some of the issues, well, not issues, but the performance of our city attorney and our legal team, and we'll advise the public that we are very happy and blessed to have the legal team that we have. So my recommendation would be that we proceed to advise or to
Allow the city manager.
to instruct administration to proceed as discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
And you considered item 7E
We have.
earlier in the meeting, Mayor, so that's the last item on the agenda.
Well, thank you so much. There being no further business, the meeting is adjourned.
On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on the McAllen Cable Network.
This is